US Secretary of State is accusing Russia and President Assad of escalating the Syrian conflict, calling plans to rid Idlib province of Islamic terrorists an assault. Mike Pompeo says the civilian population will end up bearing the brunt. Russia's foreign minister earlier laid out Moscow's position.
This is the last place for the terrorists, so from all points of view, this abscess should be removed.
Idlib's been a haven for rebels and their families evacuated from areas retaken by the government. Almost 3 million people currently live in that province, though according to the UN, there are also thousands of jihadist militants there too.
Idlib has another fact, and we have to recognize it, an extremely high concentration of foreign fighters. The estimates of the Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, whatever name they want to call themselves, is more or less around 10,000 of them.
Investigative journalist Rick Sterling says Western nations don't want to see the highly trained foreign terrorists in Syria returning to their home countries.
Elements within the United States and NATO, for that matter, want to prolong the conflict. They basically want the Syrian government to let the terrorists stay in Idlib province. We can just imagine what Mike Pompeo would say if there were thousands of terrorists in Oregon and Washington states in the United States. They wouldn't have any patience at all for that. The situation is complicated right now. It's difficult because there are thousands of foreign fighters there. These are trained terrorists with a lot of battle experience, and they've been supported by the West. They've been supported by the Gulf, including Turkey, and none of the countries that have supported the terrorists want them to come back to their own countries, of course. And it's kind of hypocritical for Mike Pompeo to criticize Syria for trying to expel terrorists from its own territory.
Okay, ready to rock, please. Let's do it.
Terrorists are said to be almost ready to stage a chemical attack to frame the Assad regime. The warning has come from Russia's defence ministry again, which says it has evidence that members of terror organisations, including Al-Nusra, met with the controversial rescue group, the White Helmets, on Friday.
At the meeting, various possible scenarios for staging a chemical attack against civilians and made to look as if carried out by government forces were discussed and approved. All those involved in the staging of the attack were to be ready by the evening of September the 8th.
Well, the news comes amid top-level international discussions on how to settle the Idlib conflict. On Friday, the 15 members of the UN Security Council met over the issue. And on the same day, the Russian, Turkish and Iranian presidents held talks in Tehran on the situation. With more details now, here's Igor Zhdanov.
It's not the first time we're hearing warnings from the Russian Defense Ministry about a chemical false flag attack prepared by militants in Idlib. Some further details. Apparently, the militants are planning to use chlorine. 8 barrels of chlorine chlorine gas, of the chlorine toxin, have been brought to the province. And the White Helmets, why they were present allegedly at that meeting, they are supposed to to film the whole thing. The Russian Defense Ministry is not the only institution making warnings about a potential chemical attack. Washington, D.C., for example, the White House is saying that it will be the Assad government, the Assad forces, that will use chemical weapons trying to capture Idlib. Now, this is kind of goes to the contrary compared to what the OPCW, the UN chemical watchdog, is saying, because they oversaw the destruction of the Syrian chemical stockpile a few years ago. But definitely what is happening right now, the situation, the chemical concern for Idlib, well, it is sending ripples from all across the geopolitical scale. Just on Friday, the UN Security Council members sat down together, and you can have a listen at the tone of how the situation in Idlib has been discussed.
There are more babies in Idlib than there are terrorists, and I think that should give those engaging in military action pause for thought.
When Russia and the Assad regime say they want to counter terrorism, they actually mean they want to bomb schools, hospitals, and homes.
We are firmly under the impression that our Western partners are stoking hysteria around Idlib, and in any case are attempting to prevent the fall of the last major terrorist stronghold in Syria. And this is far more geopolitical than these stated humanitarian concerns for the protection of civilians.
Now, it has to be mentioned that according to the UN Special Envoy to Syria, Staffan de Mistura, the Assad government does have access to chemical weapons, just like does the Al-Nusra Front, the predominant faction in Syria's Idlib. But when it comes to this northern province, the leaders of Russia, Iran, and Turkey sat down here in Tehran on Friday, right before the UN Security Council meeting, and they discussed, they focused on the situation there, and what they mostly talked about is how to get rid of terrorists there while this area is so densely populated by the civilians, because they agree that the Syrian land should be cleared of terrorists, but they can't just bomb, they can't just blindly bomb them in the area, because the Al-Nusra Front would use civilians as a human shield.
Everyone knows that there are a lot of civilians in Idlib, and we must take that into account. The Russian military and the Syrian army have always tried to guarantee the evacuation of civilians.
Right now, the focus seems to have shifted completely to the chemical concern when it comes to Idlib. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, by the end of Saturday, the militants will have completed their preparations. So we can expect something to come out as soon as Sunday.
The bankers, get rid of them.
Zhdanov reporting there with the Republican State Senator Richard Black has just returned from a fact-finding mission to Idlib. We talked to him about his experience.
The
Syrian army has incurred enormous casualties in its effort to make sure that as few civilians as possible are killed. It is the terrorists who make it their policy to go out and deliberately kill civilians. There's been talk about a peaceful solution. I don't see that as a realistic possibility.
All the people who want peace,
terrorists who
but there's a
have
few
gathered
little
here
elite who want
are
to disrupt
the
and be
worst of the
powerful
worst.
people.
These are the
So they just
Wahhabis,
fucking terrorising all
those
poor
who
people.
feel that it is their
Fucking
duty
disgraceful, mate.
to
You know what?
execute
Well, they're out, I think they're outnumbered, aren't they?
History
Yeah,
does
by
not
billions.
show that the
Why can't we just go
Syrian
and
army
take these bastards out
has
and finish them
caused
off and start
widespread
again, start a new
civilian
world.
deaths.
A new world order of peace. Fuck me, mate. It's ridiculous. I don't know what to say about it, actually, people. We need to stand up to our governments, mate. You know, they're just laughing at us. They're laughing at our heads. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed my video.
Shalom Chabrim, I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live, and